All right, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and I just want to say thank you, Philadelphia Eagles. I'm so glad they got the job done. So happy that we don't have to hear about a three-peat or anything like that. And I know that a lot of people don't like Philadelphia sports fans, but listen, we can go back to debating Jokic versus Embiid tomorrow. Tonight, it's about the Eagles, and I just want to say shout out to you and the city of Philadelphia. But before we get into this video, where I'm going to talk about how the Broncos can learn from the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm just going to mention a couple things. First of all, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. You can always wait till the end. Hopefully, I'll have earned it. My comment question of the day is: how many years away from the Super Bowl are the Broncos? Are they 1 year away? Are they 2 years away? Do you think they can't get there with their current core? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Follow me on Twitter if you like what I have to say on here at Kodiak Broncos. Let's dive right into it. So, why does this matter? Well, listen, the NFL is a copycat league. Professional sports is a copycat industry. And Howie Roseman has been one of the most successful executives over the past um, probably 10 years or so. So it would be foolish to not look at what the Philadelphia Eagles have done because this team has gone to the Super Bowl and won it 3 times out of the past 7 years, or they've won it twice, but they've gone 3 times out of the past 7 years, and they've done it with a largely different core between the 2017 time when they played the Patriots and Tom Brady, and now to when they played the Chiefs 2 years ago and tonight. But their roster and their philosophies are largely the same. Like, there's nothing that they do exclusively now that they weren't doing back in the day. Howie Roseman is one of the best in the business, so teams need to look at his blueprint. And also, the Philadelphia Eagles are now 2 for 3 in Super Bowls that we want them to win in. And, when they were playing against Tom Brady, obviously they shocked everybody. Like, I was pretty shocked that they were able to get the job done. But now I look back at it, I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. The way that team was set up, like, it was perfectly built to counter the Patriots. And it feels like this team was perfectly built to counter the Chiefs as well. So I am so glad that we got the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Like, even a week and a half ago when everyone was like upset that the Chiefs made it, I was like, listen, guys, it is so much better that we got the Eagles this time, who have proven that they can slay a giant in the midst of their dynasty, rather than Kyle Shanahan, who is just going to choke away a game again. I am so happy that we got the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, and they deserve all our respect. So, first of all, I just want to say, beginning with these, number one, look for creative ways to fleece other GMs. So, there are so many instances of Howie Roseman over the years just completely fleecing GMs and running circles around them. And, at the time, a lot of people are just like, wow, the other GM, the one he negotiated with, made a pretty decent move besides the A.J. Brown trade. But they got the Saints 2023 first after trading down in the 2022 draft. I think it was like number 18 and the Saints 2023 first for number 16 and number 19 in that same year. And the Saints ended up using those picks to select Chris Olave and Trevor Penning, both of whom I would say comfortably were not worth their draft selections, no matter how good you think Olave is. Um, but that first from the Saints ended up being Jalen Carter. So that's pretty substantial in the grand scheme of things. To work your way out of a range where you had 2 picks in and you make it out with the best player in the whole deal, indisputably, and one of the rising superstars on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL. A.J. Brown for a first and a third-round pick. Like, that's it. And listen, you're not going to get lucky. Like, I don't think the Broncos are going to get lucky anywhere in the near future with a guy like, or with a wide receiver of A.J. Brown's talent available or anything like that. But listen, if that becomes a realistic possibility, you need to strike. You need to strike because A.J. Brown, we had known in Tennessee, he was a perennially uh, disrespected dude. He was a perennially great guy who Tennessee could just never get the ball to because they were so concerned about using Derrick Henry. But listen, they also picked an extra first up from San Francisco in the 2020. Actually, that's supposed to say 2021 draft because that was when Trey Lance was drafted. But they made a 3-team deal with Miami and San Francisco. So, yeah, they were able to get an extra first in that as well. They somehow got a future first for Carson Wentz. I have no idea how. It was very clear that the dude fell off a cliff. It was very clear that the dude flat out just sucked. So I don't know. Like, at the time, Indianapolis traded for him. So I don't really know what Indianapolis was thinking there. I mean, I guess it makes sense. They did like the retread, like Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz sort of dudes. But they also got Saquon to walk away from a rival. and put him in the best rushing ecosystem in the NFL. So all this just proves that the Eagles front office has just been running circles around the rest of the league for a great many years. And when I talk about number two, that kind of coincides with it because obviously they got AJ Brown at a discount, they got Saquon at a discount. But listen, Saquon, Goddard, AJ Brown, and Devontae Smith are all ridiculously good at football. And I know he just won the Super Bowl, but Jalen Hurts, he doesn't strike me as a guy who's like consistently great. Like people are never going to talk about him, even though the Eagles win a lot of games. People are never going to talk about him as like a top five dude in the NFL. I think he's kind of like in the middle of this year. I remember thinking to myself, I was watching an Eagles game and I was like, I can't remember who they were playing, but I was like, wow, Hurts is kind of meh at real football. But a lot of people were just jacking him up because he's one of the really good fantasy quarterbacks. But listen, the ability to have a playmaker that can break open the game is just so valuable for everybody involved on the offense. So yeah, even if Hurts isn't having his best day, he can just hand it off to Saquon. Even if Saquon was running for 1.8 yards a clip or whatever it was tonight, they can rely on Hurts and Devontae Smith to win the game for them. And listen, covering AJ Brown and Devontae Smith only adds to the stress of having to deal with Saquon and Hurts on the ground. So this is a team that's very hard to play defense against, and they're also hard to play offense against, as we'll see here, because Howie Roseman builds the trenches early and often. Like 7 out of their 15 of the 15 first round picks that the Eagles have had in the Howie Roseman era have gone towards either defensive line or interior defensive line or edge. Now, this is notable for us as Broncos fans because tight end, inside linebacker, running back, and safety. Those are our literal biggest needs of this offseason. And the Eagles, one of the smartest teams over the past, however many years, have not used high draft capital on those positions. They've opted for the trenches. And listen, going for the trenches for the defensive line makes sense because they drafted Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Nolan Smith all within like 3 picks or within their 3 first round picks of each other. That's what I'm trying to say. So 2022 draft, they draft Jordan Davis. 2023, they draft Jalen Carter. And 2023 as well, at the end of the first round, they draft Nolan Smith. But they also were able to snag guys like Zach Bond and Mekhi Becton on prove-it deals. And I guess they did get kind of lucky with how much serviceable production they got from those guys. I mean, Zach Bond literally finished like 4th or 5th in Defense Player of the Year voting or whatever it is, and is going to get himself a massive contract in free agency. But listen, they also have leaders on both sides of the ball in Brandon Graham and Lane Johnson, who have been around for a long time. And like I said, trenches early and often, like that is the Eagle way. That is the Eagles' philosophy. Their defensive line coach is Clint Hurt. And honestly, that kind of surprised me. I literally could not remember who their defensive line coach was until I was looking it up in the middle of the game. And I was like, wait, wasn't Clint Hurt kind of like not that good as a defensive coordinator in Seattle? I don't know. Maybe some guys are just better suited to be positional coaches. But Jeff Stoutland always has this offensive line playing very well. Dickerson, Juergens, I'm trying to remember the left tackle's name, but Becton and Lane Johnson, they did a heck of a job tonight. So yeah, shout out to everybody there up front for the Philadelphia Eagles. So number 4, set up your roster so that minimal holes need to be filled. On my Kodiak NFL YouTube channel, like about a year ago, I remember I made a video talking about the Eagles and what direction they should take in the draft, and I literally just said that they have nothing else to do other than take a cornerback or take a defensive back. That is, like literally the only holes that this team had to be filled last year were inside linebacker and defensive back, even with the monumental collapse they had at the end of last season. Like I was still like, okay, this roster is set up for success. So, when you have a team that is that strong on the offensive line and that strong at the D line, and you just keep replenishing talent at those positions pretty much every single chance you can get, you don't have a lot of holes, or the amount of holes that you need to, how do I put this? The amount of holes that you need to go after end up subsiding, because if you are a good team on the offensive line or you're a good team on the defensive line, you can get away with so much. And it seemed like for a long time while the Eagles were still building the skin and bones of their team, it seemed like the offensive line and defensive line always had talent that they could go back to. even when they were drafting Hurts, even before they added Saquon, they still had guys like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So all those were coming together, but the backbone of this team was the offensive line and defensive line. So yeah, as I had talked about in the previous slide. But yeah, inside linebacker, like I said, also approved a deal for Bond, and they got some of the worst inside linebacker play in the league in 2023. I can't remember who the dude was who was starting for them last year, but I just remember it was a big part of why they were melting down. But like I said, the Eagles had a lot of easy choices, and they got such good play this year from Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean as well. Number 5, get yourself a mega cracked defensive coordinator. So Vic Fangio. Um, I made a video about Vance Joseph yesterday, and I just asked, is he that dude? Like, is Vance Joseph really that dude who can, fluster Mahomes and make him see ghosts during a Super Bowl? I'm not here to say that he is or he isn't, but he did absolutely fantastic last year, so I don't want to discredit him. But is he a true difference maker? That is up for you to decide. That's up for Sean Payton to decide. Right now, I go no, unless we see a bigger sample of him, being able to have elite defenses with minimal talent again. But listen, the Eagles, they were able to rush 4 all night long, and they pressured Mahomes at a 47% clip in the first half last night. And, both of the picks that the Eagles had, the back-to-back throws by Mahomes, remember where they got the pick 6 from DeJean and Zach Bond got the interception. Like both of those were caused by pressure. So listen, if you can pressure the quarterback, it makes their life very, very hard. And honestly, this whole philosophy of getting a mega crack defensive coordinator, this could apply. This is something that the Broncos could learn from Kansas City as well, because Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best in the business. And listen, Mahomes got carried to a ring last year by him. Like, Mahomes was not good. He's been wildly pedestrian over the past 2 years, but in particular last year, the Chiefs' offense was absolutely unwatchable at some parts of the year. And they got bailed out by Spagnuolo. And yes, you could say they made their way to a Super Bowl or whatever. But listen, the overarching point remains the same. Get yourself a mega crack defensive coordinator at number 5. So yeah, that does it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.